jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
First and the building, Big Blunts and Boxing on deck. You already know what it is, man. The GOAT is here. Yes, sir, indeed. Shout out to Big Blunts, man. Appreciate you pulling up. Combat, what's good? What's good with you, brother? Hottest chat in the MFing game. A-side official. A-side official. A-side official. A-side official. Yes, sir. We back at it. Cam Edwards, the apostle on deck. What's good? Salute to you, brother. Let's get down to the grit of it. The thumbnail say stay in your weight class, dudes. You know what I'm saying? And dudes, you know, they talking about boxing daycare. There's a lot of conversation that's going around about what fighters need to do. And I'm glad it's coming full circle because I spoke on it previously on what fighters need to do to get their name out there and to make these big bags. And it's going down. It's going down. You know, we actually seeing the rotation change, you know, right in front of our eyes. We seeing it change, y'all. Like it's been subtle changes going on, a little here and there, but right now we about to have a spurt, y'all. I talked about how Teofimo Lopez and what he had going on. I told cats that once he lost to George Kambosos, he was going to be champion at 140, and he's champion at 140. It took him 2 fights, but he's champion at 140, right? And I also put it out there that in order for the black fighters to have someone in pursuit, or for them to be in a situation where they're being pursued for the big bag, that's the only way they're gonna, you know, put their name up in the bright lights. And that's what we see going on. Let's talk about some things. Shakur Stevenson. From my understanding, you know, Shakur Stevenson is saying that he wouldn't have a problem moving up to 140 to face Devin Haney. Of course, because right now these fighters don't know when there's going to be another economic disaster where they're unable to fight. And if they are able to fight, it may be for little pennies, you know what I'm saying, a roll of quarters. So they have to take the economic forecast where you might have shutdowns and everything. And it's going to be crucial on some of these fighters that don't have money, a monetary cushion enough to take them to the next several months until, you know, the government gets back on what it's supposed to be, you know, stability wise. I'm saying about to see a jump and a spurt, just like we've seen with PBC putting on these fights, you know, and Showtime taking over. They got to change up boxing, bro. They have to make it reasonable enough to say, okay, we've been doing this same shit for decades, and really they're in the same place. Like boxing is still struggling. You know what I'm saying? And I always say boxing was a system. You know what I'm saying? The sport of boxing the way fighters are going about it is like a system that they're in. You can say it's a sport all you want, but it's not an entity when it comes to a sport. When people look at mixed martial arts, they consider it to be a sport. You know what I'm saying? That is a sport, and you have separate promotions. In boxing, it's just so open-ended that is you ask yourself how are these fighters going to survive. So you have Shakur Stevenson saying he's willing to, potentially face Devin Haney, right? And then, like I figured, Canelo would start coming around after he was up there just talking shit. And Canelo's up here talking about he would entertain Crawford. Of course he would entertain Crawford because a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people, to include them listening to us on the YTC. Some of us, they're listening. You know what I'm saying? They're listening. Gertz on deck. What's good? That guy Eclipse 330. What's good with the square? How you feeling, man? T on deck. I see you. What up? Salute. Jessica on deck. Salute WCS in the chat. Salute to you. Carlos Rosado in the building. What's good with it, Carlos? Christopher White on deck. I see you. What's good with your brother? So we have appreciate all y'all pulling up, man. Since it's 22 in the building, shout out once again to the hottest MF and chat in the game, man. A-Side Official, you already know. So right at this point in time, we have a shakeup that's going on. We have a spike, you know what I'm saying, in risk taking that's absolutely developing and right in front of us. You know what I'm saying? We have some of the biggest fights that can potentially be made. That's really good for boxing, but it's going to require these fighters to take a risk at doing it. And the risk right now is worth it. The risk right now has to come from a fighter that's, I'm in a position to fight this person, and you're going to have to then make a decision within yourself and say, okay, do I want to do this or not? You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know about this economy. And you probably say to yourself, well, what does the economy has to do with boxing? It has a lot to do with it. We don't know what the stability barometer is gonna be in several months. If we go into another shutdown, it's gonna be wild, man, for fighters. It's gonna be fighters that disappear. It's gonna be fighters that just don't have, you know what I'm saying, enough to make it. They're hoping to get paid a certain amount of money. It's just not gonna happen. So if you look at Canelo Alvarez now saying he would entertain Crawford, I love it. You know why I love it? Because that fight right there, Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, will absolutely be the biggest fight ever. Seriously, Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford will be the biggest fight ever in boxing. It will supersede Floyd Mayweather, all of that. Believe me when I tell you, I don't need anybody to co-sign for me. I'm putting it out there. Terrence Crawford fighting Canelo Alvarez with the momentum of Canelo coming off a win over Jamel Charlo, him having his freaking greatness stamped already, stamped, approved, certified, right? And you look at Crawford going in there, defeating Spence, still sustaining his undefeated record, and also him basically fueled off the momentum that he's had in his career, building up to July 29th, getting the job done. And then in December, handing Spence his second loss. That fight right there with Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford would absolutely be the most grandiose fight in boxing history. In boxing history. I mean, it's so much that's surrounding that shit that boxing need, these risk takers to be rewarded. And look, Canelo Alvarez has already taken risks in his career like this. Crawford, he's been taking risks to the point where he's been moving up, champion to champion, taking risks internal to his division. But for him to go in here, stamp another victory over Spence, right? Put that to bed. In 2024, him and Canelo, Real talk. Him and Canelo, Crawford moving up 3 weight classes, 2 per se, being he walk around in his 150s already. He moving up to fight Canelo Alvarez mid part of 2024 would be incredible, y'all. It would be insanely incredible for us to get this fight. And that's exactly what we need in boxing. Exactly what we need. Now for Mel Charlo has a somewhat of a quagmire. He has a predicament, right? This is how Jamel Charlo, like I've mentioned before, how he can change his entire boxing life. This guy can go in here and beat Canelo Alvarez and somehow want to take a risk at fighting Terrence Crawford or go in there and fighting Canelo Alvarez. He's on record as saying that he want to knock Crawford out, right? Okay. We don't know if Jamel Charlo sits around the same freaking belief that we have when Canelo Alvarez say he'll fight Crawford. It seems like Jamel Charlo is somewhat like wishy-washy. You know, he's always switching up. He can't just give you, he just can't say something and you say, you know what, I believe that person is telling the truth. He don't give me that vibe, y'all, but Canelo do. But let's just say if Jamel Charlo go in there and defeat Canelo Alvarez and he's willing to face Crawford, if somebody get in his ear and say, hey, you might want to hold back on that rematch because you'll be able to get good money with Crawford. My only point in what I'm trying to make, I don't believe Jamel's mindset, you know what I'm saying, his mental blade is sharp enough to be able to take risks with Crawford. He has to be willing to take a risk with Crawford with the momentum that Crawford has right now. And then with Mel Charlo becoming 2-division undisputed versus another 2-division undisputed would be incredible. It would be incredible. It will also do big money. It won't supersede the top-notch spot, but I believe it'll do incredible numbers than both of these fighters have ever been part of. I believe Mel Charlo, their numbers would definitely supersede Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. I do believe that. I mean, you're talking about Jamel Charlo changing levels. If he was to beat Canelo and put him on his freaking the left side of his freaking box rec, and for him to finally settle in and say, I want to fight Crawford. I feel that what I've just done with Canelo, Crawford can't beat me, because I don't think Crawford, you know, this is just Jamel. I'm just saying, he'll say some shit like, I don't think Crawford could have did what I did. So Crawford, come up here to 68 and fight me. That would be a huge fight. But they got to be willing to take risks. Not so much on the lap of Crawford, because I believe deep down in his heart of hearts, he is a risk taker. He's all about saying, hey, I'm gonna challenge myself. But for Mel Charlo, I don't think he's there. I think the only way he's gonna get there, y'all, is that he defeat Canelo and get his confidence up. I think within myself, Mel is going into this fight with the notion that he's up for the challenge. You know what I'm saying? Mel Charlo saying he's up for the challenge, but I don't think Mel Charlo's challenge is enough to say that he's confident that he can go in there and win. I think he's up for the challenge to split the ropes and go in there and contend. But I'm not sure if he believes that he can beat Canelo, because he's never been in position to fight somebody like Canelo. But I don't even consider this to be something that was a risk took voluntarily by Jamel Charlo. But at least he's doing it, so I got to give him credit. Do I believe he's going to win? No, I don't. If he does win, he has to take a risk and say, I'm the third loss on Canelo's record. But goddamn Crawford, I've been telling people I'm going to knock Crawford out. So I want to go take his O. I want to take his O. Well, the one thing that you're not going to get an argument from is that If you tell Crawford he got to meet you up at 168 on, on some bullshit as always, cool. He gonna meet you up there because he already said that he'll face Canelo at 168. Just like Mel Charlo was asking Canelo to come down to 158, he's definitely not gonna fight Crawford at no catch weight. He's gonna say, "Oh, I'm already up here. I beat Canelo. You come up here to me." All right, cool. He's gonna have to stand on that shit. He's gonna have to take risks. The same thing with Shakur Stevenson. 135, you moving up 5 more pounds. Tank Davis did it. Tank Davis went up there to 140 and fought Mario Barrios. So therefore, if you want to be a risk taker and be known to be, on this pathway of greatness, Shakur Stevens is going to have to fight Devin at 140 if he really wants that fight. If he want it to just absolve and just evaporate into the thin air, yeah, you stay at 135 and wait on some belts to become 3 division champion. You got a choice to make. You do. You got a choice to make. The choice of not taking 25%, that would have got you in the door to become undisputed in the lightweight division. Certain things I really didn't mention yesterday because I just didn't want to pack it into one live. But at the reality of Shakur Stevenson, I understand Devin not giving him 25. I mean, Devin giving him 25. I understand the reality of that, right? I understand why Devin would say, no, you're not getting 50%. I explained that yesterday. But also when it comes down to Shakur Stevenson, he has to be able to understand that this is a risk-taking era. You have to take a risk in order to get your name up there, especially if you're a black fighter. You cannot let years and years go by. Just think about this. It took Crawford years to get where he's at and doing all these interviews. This man is 35 years old on the back end of his career, and he's just now getting notoriety. Just now in 2021, getting notoriety. The little notoriety that he received with fighting Sean Porter and stopping him in 2021, that sparked it. That was just like a cigarette lighter. That was just a little spark. Okay. We see a little smoke. Okay. All right. Just a little bit of notoriety. This is when this man is at the back end of his career, y'all. Not until this year, July 29th, it took him over the top into a different orbit. Within this orbit, people looking at him with a whole nother perception, but it's on the back end of his career. Never say never, right? Never say never. But when it comes to risk, I don't look at Crawford as as him taking a risk fighting Errol Spence. It's something that he knew that he's been there before, and this would be no different. So he went there and fought Errol Spence. But the risk comes into the conversation of him saying he wanted Jamel Charlo at 54 prior to stepping into the ring with Errol Spence. I love it. Absolutely love it. Then you look at the fact that he's saying in Joe Rogan that he'll step up to 68 and fight Canelo. I love it. You know why? Because there's no hesitation into how far he's willing to go. I love it, man. We have to take risks, especially these black fighters. Bro, you have to take risks. I like Gary Russell, but Gary, unless you're able to take risks and go up a division or 2 divisions and fight a big name, people still gonna look at you like, hey, you good, but you ain't did nothing great for us lately. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you was one of the longest reigning WBC champions. I get it. But they want some of these names to do more. If you don't want Nui to start getting all this press play, well, you're gonna have to emulate what Nui is willing to do. Regardless of what Stephen Fulton looked like, Nui did the same thing Crawford did. You know what I'm saying? He became undisputed at the division, moved up to the next division, and he went there and fought a unified champion. I know Jeff Horn wasn't unified, but goddamn it, Fulton was unified. He got the shit done in devastating fashion. Now he's about to be a 2-division champion. Believe me, they're gonna make that fight happen. So we come back around full circle, And you look at what Inouye is doing, he's taking risk, y'all. Shakur, you're going to have to take risks. Devin took a risk. But even with Devin, his risk is about to expire, so he has to take another risk. If that risk is moving up to a second division and facing Regis Prograis, then that's what you need to do. You have to take those risks. This is the era of risk taking. The money is not the way people think it is. It's not the way you think it is, bro. This is one of my colleagues sent me. Right? Let me read you something. Now, I know you haven't heard it. You're going to hear it here first, though. I know you haven't heard it, but I'm going to read it to you. This is one of my plugs, right? He said, it's possible Errol Spence hasn't gotten all his money for the Crawford fight. Al pays weekly $150,000 one week, next week $250,000. Seller interesting. So in the process of trying to talk about the risk-taking aspect, you have fighters who are getting their money in itemized payments. That's if you are able to build up to a point where your purse is considered to be lucrative. But at the end of the day, man, when you have a sport like boxing that has pretty much been on the same railway for decades upon decades upon decades, and pretty much doing shit the same way all the time, the most that we know that's changed in boxing is the frequency of fights that fighters are able to have in an annual calendar, right? So if you take that and you look at the infrequency, the pretty much the inactivity of fighters that's fighting once and twice a year, you have to say to yourself, are these fighters getting paid a big enough paycheck, to take care of their bills until their next fight? Because the fights are up there. Look at Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson, he fought freaking Charles Martin, and then he came back in here and just stopped his last opponent. He's fighting with a sense of urgency, man. He's fighting with a sense of frequency. Seriously, he's making that round robin quite frequent. More fighters gonna have to do that shit. And right now we're lined up for some hellified matchups if we can only make it happen. Seriously, if we can only get these fighters to take risk and stop believing everything has to be at the perfect time and we'll fight up the road. That up the road shit is not going to get you the paycheck that you're looking for. It's not going to happen. No more boxing daycare. If these fighters, the only one, look, I'm gonna put it out there. The one that I've been speaking about for the longest of time, even before Crawford fought Spence and all that, was Teofimo Lopez. The reason why I spoke about him and how smart he was, because he was willing to risk it all to negotiate Lomachenko fight. We're talking about his first championship, the IBF world title of lightweight, for him to step in there and negotiate a fight with 3-weight division champion, unified at 135, 2 gold medal Olympic standard champion. This man went in there and negotiated his fight, then turned right back around when he won the chips. He negotiated the George Kambosos into a purse bid. You got to credit Teofimo Lopez for doing this shit. And I spoke on it as he was doing it. I said, man, Teo's about to lead. I'm telling you, unless these fighters start taking risk to challenge themselves instead of just waiting to fight the next opponent for a paycheck, shit is not the way it seems, bro. Y'all got to start making some fights that people want to see. Do you hear anybody talking about the 160-pound division? No, right? Did y'all remember when I said Crawford needs to go up there and fight in the 160-pound division. And people was like, some people saying, oh man, that's a good idea. You're the first one I heard to say that. I said that because nothing was going on at 160 pounds. Plus, it can allow Crawford to become a 4-weight world champion. I put this shit out there. It can allow him to become a 4-weight world champion. That's taking risk. It's very, very desolate. Nothing's being spoken on in that division. But 168 was hot. Canelo swept through that motherfucker, became undisputed, the first one to do it. And you got some hitters up there. You got some hitters at 175. You got some hitters at 154. 147, it's okay. You have some people that's about to leave, that's going to open up the floodgates, right? But 147 is about to become the 160. Remember what I told you. Remember what I told you. 147 is about to become 160 for a little bit. Because if you look at what's going on at 140, do they really have huge names that's willing to move up to 147? So if you take who's at 147, the next in line, it's about to become really empty. The energy that you seeing right now at 147 pounds is about to dissolve. It's about to go dormant. It's about to lay flat just a little bit, bro. You know what I'm saying? That buzz is about to quiet. You know what I'm saying? That buzz about to quiet in a little bit, especially when we figure out what's going on with Crawford. Crawford, if he vacates the titles, then it allowed Jaron Ennis to come up there, become champion. Then it gets a little bit interesting. These belts are disseminated amongst the sanctioning bodies. Then you have new names up there. You know what I'm saying? So it gives the names like the Blair Flair Cobbs, the Stanthionis, and all these other. Now you think about it's like, okay, would they fight each other for undisputed? Who knows? But it's no other big names there to a Crawford, Spence, Keith Thurman. So 147 pounds is about to go into a division where it's not going to have as much buzz as it does prior to July 29th, prior to when Errol Spence was picking up these titles, prior to Terrence Crawford stopping all his opponents. You need another rival to take that place. That's where you have the risk-taking aspect. Whether it's going to be Gervonta Davis, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's going to be Teofimo Lopez, is it going to be Regis Prograis? Is it going to be, some of the names? I could say Subriel Matias, but guess what? Don't nobody talk about him unless his picture pops up. Nobody's talking about it. Josh Taylor. What is Josh Taylor going to do next? Rolando Romero. Come on now. We all know what happened. You see what I'm talking about? 147 pounds is about to become a pebble in shallow waters, for real. You're going to be able to see the division. It's not going to be too many ripples going on in that motherfucker, dog. Once this shit is taken care of in December and Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford move up to 154 and do whatever they got to do, and if he comes off that belt, if nobody challenges Terrence Crawford at 147, because he say once he goes up, he ain't coming back down. Once those belts are vacated, 47 is about to be like the heavyweight division, bro. Nobody's really talking about the heavyweight division like that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's really talking about it, man. They want to see Fury, Usyk, but how long have both of these fighters had the belts and they haven't even came close? I can't really involve risk-taking because Tyson Fury did take risks by fighting Deontay Wilder 3 fights. But Usyk, why can't you bridge the gap? And what's going on with the promoters? Who knows? But we do need to understand that you have people out here bragging about boxing, but we on the brink of boxing, going back into the motherfucking dormant stages of excitement if certain fighters don't take risk to make 2024 just as exciting as 2023. It's tough for networks and promotions to put on shows that keep our interests elevated throughout the entire year. It's tough. You look at it. Tank came out the gate, had 2 fights. Hector Luis Garcia, Ryan Garcia. He got 2 Garcias to jumpstart this year, right? And then you had Caleb Plant, David Benavidez. That was a hug fest, right? And then, you had some other fights. I'm not downplaying them. Yes, I'm talking about the big fights. But once that fight was over, we was all just hoping and praying that Terrence Crawford would fight Errol Spence. That fight went down. And now the next fight we're looking for is Canelo Alvarez and freaking Jamel Charlo. That's the next fight, and that's next month. So if you talk about October, November, December, it's only speculation that Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence will fight in December. Right now, speculation. If you look at today's date, today is August 29th. This is supposed to be the end date, right? This is supposed to be the finalization. This is supposed to when we hear what is Spence going to do. If anybody has heard up to this point, let me know. Because I just don't cover boxing. I'm looking at doing my time. If you heard something else, let me know. Let's get back to the chat, man. WCS out the bud, KO Canelo. I say fuck it and go take on Fury for them belts. No, come on, Carlos. I don't know if you are partaking in. You have the day off work today, and you sipping on some Remy. You know what I'm saying? Something, some recreational beverage. But come on, bro. That's hilarious, man. No. Canelo versus Bud would be a mega global event. Oh man, it would be mega. Real talk. That should be unbelievable. I agree somewhat, except Canelo name so big with him having Mexicans behind him, folk would still watch it. Or do you mean in a sense of diminish as far as excitement? I believe Canelo versus Crawford makes Crawford between 50 and 100 million. I would say, close to 50. You know what I'm saying? Definitely close to 50. He can do it if it's promoted correctly. And, with negotiations and everything that's taking place, it would be a super mega fight. With the momentum of both of them coming off of Mel Charlo, not so much, but, Canelo sustaining his greatness anyway. He's a great fighter anyway, a legend of this era. But more so Terrence. Terrence is on an all-time high right now. So he goes in here and disperse a freaking Errol Spence for a second time and put that shit to rest. All we have to do is wait. What are you saying? All we have to do is now wait? Because Canelo is on record as saying that he's cool. He would entertain that fight with Crawford. Of course you will. You was on some bullshit when you said you wouldn't. Oh, what do I have? He's too small. No. If he's willing to step up there and challenge you, then that's what it is, bro. That's what it is, man. I mean, even though most people believe that Canelo will beat Charlo, but I feel is almost admitting that the fight is just a money play, tune-up fight. The only reason people, and that's a solid point, their clips, is we never seen Jamel Charlo take a risk, in my opinion. I don't think his undisputed birth was a risk. Fighting Jason Rosario, in my opinion, is somewhat the same brainwave that I'm on when he's heading into the Canelo fight. But Charlo's position will be Jason Rosario. I don't like to put him in that position, but a lot of people are looking at him going in there fighting Jason Rosario, that fight was going to be all Jamel Charlo. You know what I'm saying? And this setting with Canelo, they kind of see Jamel Charlo as being Jason Rosario, the same one that was sharing the ring with Jamel Charlo. They all feel that it's going to be a loss. they don't feel it's going to be a wash until we see it play out, because Jamel does have dog in him. And for real, I got to give him that. You know what I'm saying? Even though he act like a jackass, you know what I'm saying? He does have dog in him. But he's never been on a stage where you can say he challenged himself like he's about to now. I mean, like I said, it's never too late to take a risk. It's never too late, bro. But it's just something about not having the mindset to take risks initially. This came fast and in a hurry, y'all. I wouldn't say fast and furious. It's not going to get furious until we get down to the last couple of weeks heading into this fight. But what I do seeing is that, you know, Jamel Charlo is trying his best to stay locked in, focused, and to go in here and put on the best performance he possibly can against Canelo Alvarez. But I just never seen his mindset. Like, let's be honest, Tony Harrison remind me of, you know, him and Crawford's fighting style was tailor-made to beat Jamel Charlo, right? I mean, knowing how to box, you know what I'm saying? And then he came in there and he was showboating when he should have been just paying attention and staying focused. And he ended up being stopped in the 11th round, I believe. But still, his fighting style was good enough to beat Charlo. And he was a mover, right? Then you look at Brian Castano. Brian Castano had a bit more different style than Tony Harrison. He was a pressure fighter, and he was a more active fighter with his hands. So he was willing to stay right there in the pocket and trade with Jamel Charlo. He was willing to do that shit, and he had success. He just didn't have that incredible power to keep Charlo honest and basically earn the type of respect where Charlo was like shelling up every time Brian Castano got within distance. He did have his guard up a lot, I ain't gonna lie, but he did come back and he stopped him. Would you say, or would you guess, that Jamel Charlo has been taking risk in his career? Was his undisputed birth a risk? Was Brian Castano a risk? You know what I'm saying? On a level that people consider Terrence Crawford fighting Errol Spence? Nah, not with Jason Rosario, who had already been knocked out. We got to keep the same energy. You don't want to give anybody credit for fighting Amir Khan. They was washed up and all this other shit. Nobody wasn't really giving Jason an opportunity. And then you look at Brian Castano, it was what it was. It was an okay undisputed run. It was okay. Just like I say with Naoya and Nui. It was an okay undisputed run. But what I don't consider to be okay, and what I consider to be a part of greatness, is that Nui was willing to immediately move up and face Stephen Fulton. Immediately. Vacate, I want to challenge for the 122 super bantamweight titles. He did it. But when it comes to the word risk taking, though, we definitely can check the box and say Crawford called out Mel Charlo prior to stepping into the ring with Errol Spence. Not only did he call out Mel Charlo, you know what I'm saying? He stayed true to his word. During the fight, he was making Charlo know. He said, "You a bitch ass nigga, man." You know, he was talking that shit. Then after everything settled down for that fight, here comes Crawford being another, you know, adding another layer to his risk-taking mentality, is to say, "I'll fight Canelo at 168. Why not? One thing he said, I feel confident in myself. I feel confident in my abilities. Not so much with everybody saying if I can do it, if I can and can't do it. I feel confident in myself that I can move up to 68 and make this shit happen." Mel gonna get cooked. Like, hey, throw him in that hot grease blunts. I really don't like either Charlo too much, but if he's able to beat Canelo, in my opinion, BBE Bud beats everybody. I think Bud definitely, you know, beats Charlo It'll be a good lead up. Nice trash talking. You know what I'm saying? But we passed that. You know, the only time I really want to highlight or boast about trash talking is that if Mel Charlo is able to become 2-division world champion, then I say it's free reign, right? We got 2 black fighters up here on the same level. Now, 2-division undisputed. Now they're leveling up. The trash talking will be absolutely warranted from both. You know what I'm saying? It'd be incredible. But that's only if Mel Charlo is willing to face Crawford. I think he's willing to duck him, to be honest, because he's talking about just staying up there and fighting Canelo in a rematch. I really think Jamel Charlo's mindset, regardless of what he says, is not to face Crawford. Quack, quack. Mel seems like he's just happy to be there. He's going to fight, but had extra little bit to go over the top. I don't see it in Mel. That's the only thing I'm trying to say, T. Well said. Good point. Solid. That's all I'm saying. He's showing all this respect to Canelo. But I'm saying, like, is that respect going to be your detriment once it's time to do that ring walk and face that man in the ring? You know, are you ready internally? Because it's all about what's internal that we're going to see play out externally. Are you ready, Mel Charlo? Are all the jackass moments that you've been a part of? Are you ready to step in here and not do that Caleb Plant and roam around and you know, make the fight a little bit boring and sweep the outside and say, I'm gonna be the faster guy. My feet are faster. You know what I'm saying? My hand speed is faster. Okay, let's see it. Now, Tim Tszyu talking about he accepted Crawford. Listen, hey, Blunts, everybody is looking at the play. The only one that's been really talking about the play, right, has been Crawford. Let's be honest. Crawford's been talking about the play. He was talking about fighting Errol Spence and then fighting Mel Charlo. Mel Charlo is losing the WBO title, and he had the grand opportunity to step up and fight Canelo. Now that he's fighting Canelo, he wants to stay and fight Canelo for 2 fights. He's not trying to see Crawford, but Crawford's been the one moving the needle and saying, I want to fight Mel Charlo for the 154 undisputed. Now that WBO title is going to be in the possession of Tim Tszyu, Crawford doesn't see the need to reciprocate. You know what I'm saying? The same path that he took moving up to 40 to 47. You know what I'm saying? He passed that, in my opinion, being 2-time undisputed. So now that he's already established and solidified himself as the first to do it, why would he fight Tim Tszyu at 154 and then Mel Charlo vacate the titles? I don't find trust in listening to Jamel Charlo. I just don't hear it. I don't see it. And him willing and able to go on his word and say, you know what, I'll knock that nigga out and I'm going to accept the fight after I beat Canelo. I'll accept it right away. No, he's talking about fighting Canelo in December. He's talking about fighting Canelo in December, y'all. So look, I'm not saying it's totally out the window if he win. I just don't see him beating Canelo the first time around. But if indeed he's able to pull it off twice, of course Charlo's name would be in the stars. His shit would be in the middle of a motherfucking Milky Way, goddammit. That nigga be up in there, goddamn, you know, breathing without freaking equipment up in the stratosphere. That look, Charlo's career would have goddamn catapulted him to elevation that we didn't think he could go to as a professional fighter. It would be unbelievable. But that's just me giving Mel Charlo too much at this point in time. Like T said, I just don't see it in him. I just don't see it in him, shawty. I don't see it, bro. Tim has nothing to offer. Tim has nothing to offer as far as popularity and ticket sales. Absolutely nothing. And nobody's really calling for Tim Tszyu like they calling for Jaron Ennis. They're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? They're not doing it. I mean, they're not doing it, brother. Tim Tszyu is in a rock and a hard place, man. Okay, if he goes in there and knocks out freaking Mendoza, it will be quite interesting. All right, if he goes in there and knocks out Mendoza, you know what I'm saying, shut him down, then we talking a little bit different now. After the Great American Fish Fry on July 29th, I said that Crawford versus Tszyu is very possible and an interesting fight. I look at it like this, Clips, is that interesting isn't good enough for what we have going on right now. We have hardware. Titles, crowns. We have fighters vying for position for the throne. We're not talking about any throne. We're not talking about championship throne. We're talking about the throne of greatness. We have fighters right now that are in perfect positions to fight for the throne of greatness. Yeah, Canelo is already there, but he's scheduled for a 3-fight deal. When have we seen the momentum from a fighter coming down 2 or 3 weight divisions to challenge Canelo Alvarez? Canelo accepts. You know what I'm saying? I don't even believe that there's been no opponents on Canelo record that we can say that emulates or reflects like Mikey Garcia did from 35 to 47. Even Mikey Garcia moving up to face Errol Spence is not the type of hype that's Crawford moving up to face Canelo. Why? Because, yeah, even though Mikey Garcia was unified and he was a 4-weight world champion, it really wasn't anything coming off the Robert Easter fight that gave him the buzz, except, yeah, he was out the sport for a couple of years, you know, the handle that legal situation with Top Rank. But he just came out of nowhere as an opponent for Errol Spence Jr. But with Terrence Crawford, this man is coming off a phenomenal performance in defeating Errol Spence Jr. And then you're talking about him going in there defeating Errol in a rematch. He has both of those fights, okay, under his belt, and he has that momentum. And right now, I mean, I'm talking about everywhere you look, his popularity, him being on freaking podcasts everywhere, his face is everywhere, his followers, his numbers just went up. Everybody's talking about Bud Crawford. So you take that ball of fire, of momentum, and you take that up to Canelo Alvarez. It seems like it's aligned perfectly for Crawford. It's aligned perfectly, not so much for Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo's been making this type of money. He's been in big fights like this. You know what I'm saying? But for Crawford to match and go in there, this star power with Canelo Alvarez at this moment, and also have his moment. This is his moment, y'all. I don't want to put myself out there too much by saying this is Crawford's, you know, the biggest moment of his entire career outside of being undisputed. But it is. It is. This is Crawford's big moment if he's able to get Canelo. The biggest challenge ever in his career than any title he's ever won. From Julius Odongo to Errol Spence Jr. Combined, him moving up 3 weight classes to fight Canelo Alvarez for Canelo's undisputed titles is bigger than those achievements combined. It is. Because guess what? He beats Canelo and becomes 3-weight world champion. It's not going to be too many people just looking at what he did with Errol Spence on July 29th. It's going to be people talking about what he did to Canelo. How he was able to move up there and fight Canelo 3 weight classes and take the titles and become 3-weight world champion. It's going to be incredible. And he will get the full credit for taking risk. He's willing to take a risk from 47 to 68 to fight this man. He's willing to take that motherfucking risk, bro. People respecting Bud Crawford now more than ever. More than ever. Because they was unfamiliar. You know what I'm saying? They was kind of skittish about Julius Ndongo. But he still did it. He got it done just like Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. Both of them had 2 belts. Boom, they got it done. It's legit. But I'm talking about as far as notoriety. It comes into play with him facing Errol Spence. Got it done. Stopped him. Results. The results, y'all. He stopped Ndongo in 3 and stopped Spence in 9. Results. That's what we're talking about. People, he goes in here and stops Spence in the rematch. People gonna say, you know what? Can he stop Canelo? Can he? Can Crawford stop Canelo? You're going to have the naysayers coming here talking about the chin and all that. But at the end of the day, the man's taking a risk to go 3 divisions to fight for the undisputed titles against a guy who's never been stopped, a guy who's at the top of the pecking order, top of the boxing hierarchy, considered to be in the idolatry of boxing, the one that has everything to win in this fight is Terrence Bud Crawford by taking a risk to go up there and fight this man. The same with Shakur Stevenson. He has the opportunity to take a risk right now. The risk is if you can somehow, some way redial it back in and face Devin Haney, do it. You're still in your 20s. You beat him. You're damn near in the conversation as being one of the greats too. Because you have the opportunity to move up, to 140 and 147 to end your career as a 5-weight world champion if you're able to do that. I believe Shakur can do it. But he has to be willing to take risk. You can't come in here talking 50-50 and you wasn't over there for the Aussie double. Not only that, you come back from the Aussie double and you fight Lomachenko. I don't blame the Haneys one bit for feeling the way they feeling, but yet I don't blame Shakur Stevenson for sitting up here trying to up his level of negotiation prowess and say, I wanna increase my marketability. How do I do that? I gotta make a change sooner or later. I think I'm worth this. No, you ain't getting 50%. Well, if they gave you 25 and you didn't come back with a counter, that's a mistake on your part. Come back with something. Let's see how these 3 fighters play out. It can change boxing, bro. To be honest with you, bro, I don't think, I'll say it again, I don't believe Jamel Charlo is going to be willing to face Terrence Crawford, bro. Because he's always, look, if Jamel Charlo picks up those titles from Canelo Alvarez and his mindset is going to be this, right? He pick up the titles from Canelo. He becomes 2-weight world champion. Plus he has Canelo and he faces Canelo again. I'm talking about far-fetched motherfucking suspense drama series, climactic like you've never seen before. He goes in there and defeats Canelo twice. Obviously, Canelo's career is over. Charlo would have been the name that had ended Canelo's career by going 2-0. All right. Charlo is on a whole nother space odyssey right now when it comes to his name. A whole nother space odyssey. Look, Jamel Charlo's name is going to be higher than Crawford. Seriously. So when it comes to negotiation is going to be tough. Because Charlo is going to say, I'm coming off like the same shit I'm talking with Devin Haney. I'm coming off defeating Canelo Alvarez twice. And I'm a 2-weight world champion. And I got the momentum. You coming up to my division. I think negotiation is going to be tough because Crawford has proven that he's a tough negotiator. You know what I'm saying? So, they're going to have to take risk. He coming out off the momentum. Crawford coming off the momentum. Them meeting in the middle. Can they talk sensibly? I don't think so. I don't think Jamel Charlo knows what it is to be in a position like this. And then if he does pull off this miracle of a feat, I think he'll come up with the same shit Errol Spence was talking before. 70, 30, 80, 20 bullshit. I'm serious. I just nobody's gonna fool me at all that Mel Charlo is matured. Nobody's gonna fool me. Nobody's gonna convince me that this man will come in there to these negotiations after what he witnessed with Errol Spence and convince us that he's willing to be reasonable. Because he know, listen to me now. He's saying he's done being stupid. He just heard all the shit with the coin flip and Crawford walking out, you know what I'm saying, second, and being introduced first, having all these concessions as the B-side fighter, supposedly. Mel Charlo's mentality is to come in there and prove to Crawford he's not going to do that with him. When Canelo is basically his grandest moment, period, up to this point in his career. But with that grand moment, it would have been Canelo, a fighter that's bigger than anybody ever that Crawford ever fought in his career. So look, truth be told, Charlo would have came from the back. You know what I'm saying? The back of the pack up to the front if he's able to pull this shit off twice. But is he willing to take that risk to leave it all in the ring, or he's going to pull off a Caleb Plant? The Caleb Plant that fought freaking David Benavidez, the Caleb Plant that fought Canelo Alvarez. Watch what I tell you. Listen to what I'm telling you. This is what we're going to see from Jamel Charlo. The Caleb Plant that fought Benavidez, he's going to hold a lot, right? And he's going to be moving around the ring a lot. I don't see that risk-taking effect going on with him fighting on the inside. And Derek, you think Diddy is going to be giving him advice to make him feel you, Jamel. Make him feel you, dog. Hey, make him feel you. Yeah, Canelo will make you feel him all right. He's not going to be giving Mel Charlo, make him feel you, dog. Make him feel you. We train for this, man. Look at you. You're ripped. You're shredded. Make Canelo feel you. Okay. Shout out Knockdown 305. Salute to you, WCS in the chat. Yo, what it do? What's good with it, bro? So WCS, you want Stevenson to do what Floyd Mayweather did with Oscar De La Hoya? If he wants to change levels like Devin Haney, even though we don't know if Devin Haney what his next move is, but Devin did what Floyd did basically, and it was even worse in my opinion. It was even worse. At the end of the day, it was even worse. So you can't expect Team Haney to come in here with open arms as if this is all about a peacekeeping mission and it's all about am I my brother's keeper? Because truth be told, I had mad criticism of Devin Haney's resume because he ain't fought nobody. But when he is afforded the opportunity to go in there and fight George Kambosos off the strength that Lomachenko went to battle, right? Went to combat. He has his opportunity that he has to seize the moment. This man went in there and seized the moment twice. 3 times he seized the moment. So I supposed to go ahead and welcome a 50-50 split? No. So Shakur has to take the same step a little bit. I know it's fucked up to say, okay, well, that don't have nothing to do with Shakur Stevenson. It has something to do with Devin Haney. You're right. But who's the man down at lightweight division? Devin is. He has all the belts. Not one of the belts, not 2 of the belts, not 3 of the belts, not 4 of the belts. You know what I'm saying? He has every belt at the lightweight division. So you, a 2-weight world champion, and I salute Shakur. You know, my name for Shakur Stevenson is the Emperor of Boxing because he is rising as we see it, right? All I'm saying is he has to think about what he's been able to accomplish in his career, and he's dealing with another fighter that's still trying to establish and build upon his legacy based off what he was able to do in his last 3 fights. That's Devin Haney. They took a doo-ass contract. They made the sacrifice to get that shit done. They went in there and performed. a fucking 50-50, dog. So Shakur Stevenson gonna have to take the lower half of that just to get in the moment. If you feel that you absolutely can go in there and defeat Haney, take the lesser money and build off of it. Dude, you're young. You're still in your 20s. You're not in a who's to say, you go in here and you get the belts. Dude, you have so much landscape ahead of you, bro. So much. But you have to take the risk. Shakur has to take the risk, bro. Boots about to be the only guy 147. See? You get it. 47 is about to be like 60. You're just gonna have a single guy there. You got Bladder Flair, but can any of these guys pick up a belt and become rivals? Look at 40. Who's a rival at 40? Teofimo Lopez is there. Who's the rival, bro? Who is he rivaling against? I don't hear too much of him fighting Regis Prograis, Subriel Matias. Who's the rivalry, bro? He's not fighting. He don't seem like he's going to fight Rolly Romero. Who is the rivalry at 140? What built up Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford was they became rivals without even throwing a punch. They became rivals based off what they was accomplishing outside the ropes, inside the ropes. The talk outside the ropes, the chitter chatter, several years with people keeping them in the boxing conversation, and then what they was doing inside the ropes. Combining them together, they became rivals. Who's going to do that after they leave? Who is Boots going to have a rival with? That's a real big question mark. Very tall in stature. We have to see, is anyone going to climb up to the expectations to keep that 147-pound division buzzing? And the wild part about it, it's just not really any huge name as 147 that move up to make it interesting. There's not that many names except Teofimo Lopez. You know what I'm saying? Regis Prograis. That's it. Subriel Matias can fight his ass off, but don't nobody know who he is, really. Eclipse said, Usyk versus Wilder. The only situation I have, and shout out to the Bronze Bomber, the only situation I have with Wilder is that every time his name come up right now, it just seems like people all of a sudden, outside of Fury, his fights aren't easily being made. Ruiz is talking about what, 15 to 20 million? Like, brother, you didn't even defend your unified titles. You didn't defend them, brother. You didn't defend them. You came off of them. You came off those titles, man. You gave them up. You did. But you're trying to say just because you fought AJ twice and you went 1-1 and you fought the former WBO champion, Joseph Parker, now you want to demand you going in there and potentially getting slept, flatlined by Wilder, who all of a sudden we're seeing how dangerous Wilder really is. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing how people looking at him now. For Ruiz to know, it's a great possibility he's getting knocked the fuck out. And for his services, he want Wilder to come out the pocket. 20 million? Dude, wasn't you knocked down versus Chris Areola? Come on, man. Stop the madness. Stop madness, bro. Gary Antoine and Boots, man. I look, that'll be a good fight. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to BIG in the building. It's no rivalry there. Plus, you saying Gary Antonio. Okay, so let's do some. Let's get some things cleared up, right? Gary Antonio Russell fights at bantamweight. Okay, Antoine Russell fights at 140, and Gary, he's no longer at 126. So we're waiting for him to see what weight division he comes up. He's going 130, 135. If G Russell was to go to 135, would be his best bet to shake it up and get some pretty solid fights. You know what I'm saying? But it would be pushing it to say G Russell fights at 147. All right. So Antoine Russell, there's no way that we can see him moving up from 140 to 147. It's just not logical for him to do that right now because he's on the brink of a title shot again. Do I think Bud will win what? You have to be, please, elucidate for me. Do I think he'll win what? Do I think he'll win the rematch with Spence or do win with Canelo? If you can clarify that for me. I feel like Bud is one of them guys that if you're not gonna kill him, you're not gonna beat him. Dude is just different. Hey, talk that. You know what I'm saying? Talk that. Yes, hot grease all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? I agree, Blunts. I agree. Real talk. Crawford got that killer be killed instinct. Yes, sir. If you're talking about who do I think Crawford win against Canelo? Yeah, I got Crawford versus Canelo. I got Crawford. For the mere fact that, Canelo should be the guy, right? For the first time, Canelo should be the guy to put Crawford on the kill switch. He should be the guy where Crawford be able to use plan B and C if he's taking that. Canelo has the IQ. He has the wherewithal. He has the experience. You know what I'm saying? He has the experience as a veteran, as one of the greatest of this era. He has it. He has everything to go in there and show the people he is who he say he is. And Crawford, in the same light, has the opportunity to go in there and continue to show people I am who I say I am. Watch me. I train too hard to think about losing. That's what Crawford said. I train too hard to think about losing. That shit ain't gonna change with Canelo. Plus, he got a team, very intelligent team, man, that thought this shit out. Cape Man P, I see you. What's good? Look, I'm gonna say this respectfully, Cape Man P, right? Check this out. It's a lot of things in life that's going to have a triangle, rectangle theory. It's going to be way many more points than a triangle theory, right? Triangle theory at this point in time is very basic. The simplicity of a triangle theory is extremely basic. When you start adding more points and changing up the entire shape and form of it, then that's when it gets a little bit complex. Only if you're not on the level to understand the complexity once it begins to blossom. Triangle theories are very, very simple. Very simple. You're dealing with 3 points. That's it. That's distractions. The triangle theory, when they all blend in together, how can they be distractions? Maybe distraction is coming in with the barriers that are up as far as that thought jumping over synapses gap, making sense with all the dang evidence that you have to present. You know what I'm saying? Doing the deductive reasoning, taking all your evidence to come up with a what? A result. So you put all that formula together, you know what I'm saying? And you process it and you see if you have everything you need to come up with the conclusion that you're looking for. It's just 3 points. Triangle theories are extremely simple unless the points that you have in a triangle theory doesn't make sense. And you're trying to create a line, to one another, which it don't make sense. If the triangle theory makes all the sense in the world, when they link up and you're trying to convince somebody, on what you're talking about and that the evidence that's presented, it all matches up. In this case, it does. All these triangle theories is going on with Jamel Charlo, Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez. They all match up because they're at a point in their career right now where they can absolutely be in the ring with one another. Jamel Charlo is going to be in the ring with Canelo next month. Terrence Crawford can absolutely be in the ring with Canelo Alvarez in 2024. I don't know so much Jamel Charlo. He gives me those shaky you know what I'm saying, goosebump vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like, is he, ain't he? Ain't he, is he? Is he, ain't he? I don't know what he's going to do. He just talks. And 1 minute he act like he want to fight Crawford. The next minute seems like he want to quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack. Why should Charlo be thinking about Crawford? Makes no sense. We all know who Charlo fight next. Okay. Once again, not sure when you came in on the live stream, what you heard, but I was speaking about Crawford calling out Jamel Charlo and willing to take risk. Being he's doing press tours, and they're asking him, they have asked him about Crawford. Why? Because Crawford's been on record as saying once he beat Errol Spence, he wants Jamel Charlo. Jamel Charlo was thrusted into a position because his older brother, Mal Charlo, was eliminated temporarily. He's now been provided the pole position to go up there and try to race through this fight with Canelo for 12 rounds. He wasn't in that position before. Let's just say he didn't get the Canelo fight. Your comment wouldn't make any sense, because now we are talking about Crawford and Mel Charlo. We are. Also, you have to find out Tim Tszyu in the mix of that, but we will be talking about Crawford and Jamel Charlo. But you're saying it doesn't make sense now because he's all of a sudden fighting Canelo. It still makes sense because this year, 2023, is about to end. Yeah, we only have several more months, and then it's about to be over. Now we have to start thinking about what big fights do we have in 2024. Tim versus Mendoza will be a tough fight for Tim. Crawford will whoop his ass. I just think any way Crawford chooses to turn the wheel, I think the direction is going to lead him to success either way it goes. It's going to lead him to just one more destination until he finds himself, fighting for the pot of gold once again. You know what I'm saying? This might take him a little bit longer, being that the fighter that he's talking about is tied up. You know what I'm saying? They automatically hastily, put a fighter in there that wasn't even thinking about that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm still, I'm unwilling to say that Mel Charlo can handle the moment like Crawford. I'm just gonna say it. I don't think he can. I don't think he can, people. I don't think he can handle the moment like Crawford can. I haven't seen gears from Mel Charlo. I haven't seen the kill switch from Mel Charlo. No. We'll see. Canelo should fight David Benavidez after Charlo in May 2024. Fight Crawford at the end of 2024. Crawford versus Jamel Charlo can happen in April, May of 2024, especially if the Errol and Bud rematch in December. This is the way I think about Jamel Charlo. So now you're talking about potentially him fighting Jamel Charlo in mid-part of 2024 because you feel Canelo should fight David Benavidez, when in fact Tim Tszyu is going to be an equation. Crawford will be fighting for the unified titles at 154 when he said, hey, if Mel Charlo want to go and fight Tim Tszyu and collect that WBO belt again, I wouldn't mind fighting him. You know what I'm saying? But if you're Crawford, based off what he's accomplished, does he really want to take the same route, go and pick up the WBO title if he's able to get the fight, right? Which he should, and then expect Jamel Charlo to fight him with the 3 belts? Jamel Charlo keeps talking about he's going to move up from 54 to 60. I'm telling you, he ain't trying to fight Crawford. Crawford is a dangerous fight for Mel Charlo to pick up his second loss. He ain't trying to fight the man. He's not trying to fight him, bro. You know what I'm saying? I totally get what you're saying, man, but he ain't trying to fight him. He's not trying to fight him. And the only way that's going to happen in your scenario is pretty much Jamel take an L against Canelo. Because why would Canelo fight David Benavidez coming off an L from Jamel? he would definitely want to go in there for a rematch because look at it like this. How many of his losses have he been able to rematch? 0. He didn't rematch Floyd Mayweather. He didn't rematch Dimitri Bivol. Crawford gonna get hurt by Canelo. That's my only worry for Bud. Canelo can be outboxed. You know, you have a fighter like with the mentality of Crawford. It's easy to say he's gonna get hurt, but convincing him he's gonna get hurt. I mean, that's just a whole nother area of mental psyche that you're trying to dive into. You're trying to tell somebody something that they can't fathom. He cannot fathom. You know what I'm saying? He said he trained too hard to think about losing. Crawford going to keep Nello at the end of his punches. Crawford has that it factor. Anybody can do it. He can. But as much as I want Bud to win, I believe it's too much a jump. Put Crawford 10 all time with legacy. I mean, everybody's going to have their opinion, both good and bad. But that's you. You know, every human being has a different sense of thinking. That's your opinion. If you don't have confidence in what Crawford is doing, then we have to wait and see if the fight materializes so we can both see it play out. I got Crawford over Canelo any day of the week, twice on Sundays. For sure, for sure. Shout out to Toby Bartlett across the pond, man. Salute to you, WCS in the chat. We're global, baby. We're global. Got to keep educating strays and keeping the grease hot. Absolutely indeed, man. You already know. A-side official. You know what I'm saying? The hottest MF and chat in the game. Shout out to you, Toby. Salute to across the pond, man. Good talk life lessons. If someone offers you something, you always counter. Shame on you if you don't. Yeah. I mean, someone has to, you know, help Shakur understand that. But peep this out. Like I said before, Teofimo Lopez was able to negotiate, you know, 800,000 now. You never know who's trying to emulate certain people. You know, Lomachenko and Tio was able to make the fight now. Lomachenko and Tio was able to make the fight. So what does that say about two black fighters trying to do business? We found out that's possible too. Crawford and Spence just damn negotiated. They made the shit happen, bro. So it's not impossible. Shout out to Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. Salute to you, brother. What's good with it, OG? Yeah, I said Tank can move up to 47. Absolutely. Tank can move up to 47. Who he's going to fight? The only big name in order, you know, that Tank can build a rivalry up to is Boots. Boots is going to be man at 147 once these belts come loose. Boots is going to be the man up there. Point blank, period. So he needs to build up a rivalry. And look, Tank has accomplished more than Boots in his career. Is it possible for them to build up a rivalry at 47? Who knows? He said he can go out there and knock out Crawford, right? Shit, he should be able to go out there and say he can knock out Boots too. That, you know, Tank, one thing about him, going into that fight, his IQ, in my opinion, is higher than Boots. But Boots is a big 47 pounder, bro. He's a big dude. That would be a very interesting fight, and that'll be a way that both fighters can basically, you know, build up or spark a rivalry between one another. It'll be good for boxing conversation, man. It'll be good for the sport. Seriously, it'll be real good for the sport. I got Crawford against anyone until someone can beat him. But to be honest, I just don't see it. Keisha say Mel respects Canelo better than he do his own brother. You know, I really can't even go against the grain with you on that. I can't hold you at all. Yeah, look, I know from the outside looking in, it does look that way. Like he's giving this man the ultimate. But when it comes to family, Canelo haven't been around this man like family. So I have to look at it from that way. From my life experiences and all that, blood's supposed to be thicker, right? But sometimes it's the worst. You know what I'm saying? It's the worst. Blood can be the worst. Seriously, the worst. So, like I said, I hope these cats get it together. But I just see a bit of starstruck type of headlight beams going on with Mel Charlo when it comes to Canelo. You know what I'm saying? He's not keeping that same rah, rough, edgy type of brash talk, trash talking. We're not getting that, but he'll give it to all the black fighters though. You know what I'm saying? If it's a black fighter by the name of Crawford, he'd give it to him. Tony Harrison, he'd give it to him. Jerry Hurd, he'd give it to him. He'd give it to all the black fighters, man. Javante Davis, you know what I'm saying, gave it to him. Adrian Broner gave it to him. He'd give it to all the black fighters. But now he's stepping in there with Canelo Alvarez. He's looked like, oh my God, let me kowtow. Let me take a knee. In the name of and honor your majesty, your Lord. I mean, my king. No, keep the same energy, bro. You should have been disrespectful. You should have went up there. Now all of a sudden, he want to pretend like he's not following Crawford's footprints that he left, but he absolutely is. Because a lot of people was thinking that Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence was going to be disrespectful. Even though it got a little testy back and forth, some verbal jousting and stuff like that, it didn't get too out of hand. Now, and that wasn't because either fighter was starstruck, right? But now you got Mel Charlo. He just goes up there and he's just he won't even say, I'm gonna win. September 30th, I'm definitely gonna beat Canelo ass. Real talk. It wasn't nothing. Oh, we don't have to be disrespectful. I'm done being stupid. I just want to be a better person. After seeing my brother get the mustard slapped out his mouth, I really want to be a better person, man, because it was embarrassing. Both of our girls was out there in the parking lot looking ratchet. You know what I'm saying? Ratchet. I just said to myself, I got to do better. I have to do better. You know what I'm saying? Come on, bro. Come on now. What are we doing? What are we doing, brother? But remember, at the end of the day, it's some solid fights that potentially is going to play out. You know what I'm saying? If indeed, Shakur Stevenson, Frank Martin is on the calendar, I like that fight. I do. I like it. I don't see Frank Martin winning that fight, but I got respect for Frank Martin, though. The way he carries himself as a man, and he's grown on me a little bit. You know what I'm saying? As far as, the respect I have for him as a fighter and his fighting style. He didn't look that well. I believe he has a style that Shakur Stevenson will take full advantage of when it comes down to it. I'm thinking this fight may potentially be lopsided if he don't tighten some shit up. Seriously. If he don't tighten some shit up, it may potentially be lopsided. But, as a man, I got respect for him, man. You know what I'm saying? As a fighter, I respect him. He's just gonna have to, clean up some areas of his technical ability if he want to go in there and outbox Shakur Stevenson. I'm seeing Shakur Stevenson as a tactician. I see him very smart in there. So I see that as a separation in boxing IQ, in my opinion, of Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin. And, age is not going to be an issue. You know what I'm saying? Age is not going to be an issue. They're around the same age, I think. I mean, Shakur might be a little bit younger, rather. Shakur is definitely a little younger than Frank Martin. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But hey man, shout out to y'all, man, for tuning in. You already know. Big shout out, salute to the hottest chat in the MF game. A-Side official. Yes, sir. Be sure to hit the like button on your way out. We only sitting at 33 likes right now. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Appreciate y'all for pulling up and supporting the channel. We should also do it again. When you see the notification, man, be sure to tune in. Leave a comment. You know what I'm saying? Comment on the video after it's over with. You know what I'm saying? Let me know. I love it. I love engaging with the listeners and subscribers. Make sure you hit that sub button, man. Show love to the channel. Real talk. Y'all hold it down. I'm out. Peace.
Left jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best, you gotta show me son. Actions over words, baby boy, is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come back. Sports, talking way too much, world come back. Sports, talking way too much, world come back. Sports.